So we just to sync or just do the 3, 2, 1?
There's 3, 2, 1, sing that shit.
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Boom, welcome everybody to Sam and Geoff Podcast, episode 3. 3. We made it. A whole trilogy.
Somehow.
And today we have a special guest, Mr. Younes, a very dear friend of mine.
Mm-hmm. And somewhat stranger to me.
A bit. You guys met, what, like a few weeks ago?
2 times.
Twice. At the casino once, and then...
Yeah. And in the movie theaters. Second one.
Alright. So how you doing, Younes?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
How you guys doing this evening?
Not bad.
Enjoying the peanuts.
Enjoying the peanuts. So, ever since I wanted to make the podcast, I've always wanted, if there was one guest I've always wanted to bring on the podcast, was Mr. Younes right here. And the reason was because, well, we've been coworkers for a while, and we've had a few conversations at work. Well, a lot of conversations at work. And then we decided to, fuck it, why not just record it and capitalize on the guy's knowledge.
Knowledge.
My knowledge.
Yeah,
Talk about a lot of stuff at
the
work.
only thing is not in his garage. He's not in his garage.
His garage?
Knowledge.
Oh yeah, the Ty Lopez guy? Alright.
Who's that?
The guy who talks about knowledge and he's in his garage. Talks about his Lamborghini.
I don't know what that is.
You never seen that guy? You like get rich quick.
So you're talking about my knowledge. Knowledge about what? I didn't even know.
Huh?
I didn't even know I was that knowledgeable, to be honest. This is news to me.
You're a knowledgeable guy?
Yeah.
Everybody's got knowledge.
Everybody's got knowledge. No, but the difference between you and everybody else is that you research what you talk about. Whereas,
I'd love
whereas
to
the
do
other
that,
people, they'll
definitely,
just, spit out their opinions without any empirical evidence behind,
Yeah, I just find that to be a more functional way to...
The scotch is getting to him already.
No, it's just like the echo that I hear is like freaky. It's like hearing myself.
Well, you can just reduce the volume a little bit less.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Actually, if I could turn it off, it would be better.
But I'll just take out the headphones maybe.
Okay.
There you go.
I like that better, yeah.
Okay. And, yeah. Well, let's describe, like we do for every guest. We just, like, who's the person, right? Like,
What do
for
you
example,
do? Who are you?
Yeah, one
What
thing
do you
that
do here?
defines you is you're into fighting.
Yeah, I
Into fighting.
definitely
2
love
days
that.
ago, you posted this thing, you shared this thing on Facebook about how much you love the art of MMA.
Yeah.
And then it's a compilation of different fighting moves and different, just different moments in art.
Yeah, that
in
video
martial
was
arts.
actually about not even moves, just like martial artists showing each other respect after the fight or even during the fight,
It's
which
not
is
always
very
the case.
nice.
It's not always the case though.
Exactly. This is why it's nice when you do see it, because like
Sportsmanship.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what the sport is actually about. Because in a lot of cases, you see guys talking shit to each other, which is good for promoting a fight, but it ends up giving a bad example of what the sport is about.
That's a good point.
So this is why when you do see it, because competition has to do that. When you have to fight in a competition, there's always the business side of things, and that makes it all about the show. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So when you have people that are showing you what real martial arts is about, you appreciate it.
Is there any well, let me ask you this: what is it about martial arts that you like the most? About what is it about fighting? Because some people would say, "Well, that's barbaric. Why the hell would you fight?"
Fighting the shit out of someone.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
so if somebody comes to
Yeah,
you and
no,
says,
definitely is,
"Why the
yeah.
hell would you like it?" Like, for example, a commenter said, "Well, nothing says." Nothing things I like you like giving you a concussion or something, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to say who, but I'm just saying, like,
I know
that's
exactly.
But
what you
that's like a counter. I'm happy I saw that comment because I'm like, well, that's a lot of people say that against they say that against hockey, fighting in hockey, or fighting in the martial arts itself. So why?
Well, fighting in hockey is just to put on a show.
Well, not
it's
always.
mostly there to put on a show.
Yeah, but in the art of fighting itself, so somebody says, "Why would you like something so barbaric?" What would be your response to that? Like, how can you find?
Well,
some
that's
people say
the
there's
thing.
no honor or respect in fighting.
Again, I'm more interested in the actual reason why the art itself was originated, which is mostly self-defense. It's the learning to control yourself, learning discipline. It's even it's used to defend others in some cases. Like it was never maybe eventually it evolved to that, but initially it wasn't about like two people getting it on, and people watching, and people making bets about it. But to make so much money, and everything is like based on economy in the world today, so that's where it leads you, you know.
Do you practice martial arts yourself, or?
I do, yeah, but I do it only to improve myself. I don't do it for like. I don't do it to compete.
Okay, so you do it just self-improvement, confidence, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
or?
pretty much.
Pretty much by fighting. Yeah.
It's the non-showing side of it. Like, it's not about the show or anything. It's really just about becoming more in control of oneself. Yeah.
I would totally agree to that, because the more you practice restraint in fighting, like a lot of these fighters today, they can kick anybody's ass, but they practice self-control and restraint, and that's a lot of strength in and of itself, right?
That's actually a main thing, is when you start to know more and more about how to fight, you learn that you learn when to fight, you know? You learn that a lot of situations you mostly win by walking away from the fight. Actually,
that's a good point.
Because like fighting, you know, in most cases, it's very useless. In most cases, it's easily to avoid until somebody actually lays their hand on you, and that's when it goes from something like, because it's all about communication, right? That's when it goes from actual talking, which is a form of communication, to fighting, which is like another form of communication where you're talking with your limbs, you know what I mean?
With your fists.
Yeah, with all your limbs, not just fists. That's what MMA is about. You can use the knees, the elbows.
You can use your head.
Yeah. It's a language in of it, like by itself. Martial arts.
Well, yeah, it is a form of well, maybe not communication, but definitely expression.
Okay,
you know
that's
what I mean?
a good way of putting it.
Because maybe the other person doesn't communicate back, and you just whip his ass straight up. You know, but that's the joke. But it is a form of expression, 100%. Yeah, like any other art, really. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And when you have two people that know how to do it so well, and not even necessarily, but just are willing to do it against each other, it ends up being a communication, you know?
Exactly, between two artists in a way, right?
Yeah.
Who their artist is fighting.
And whoever's more like knowledgeable and more committed to the sport usually ends up winning that argument, pretty much.
That's a good way of putting it. Absolutely. Well, just moving on to something else too. Just something that would describe Younes is the love of science.
Oh,
And to be more precise, I think you're a big fan of. There's evolution, which is some people call the theory. I call it a fact. But other people would also. I would also describe you as a big fan of astrological science, like anything that has to do with
astronomy.
Space.
Yeah.
Astronomy. You're a big fan of astronomy. A big fan of Elon Musk.
Wait, is he like more astronomy in like the sense of Gemini and like?
No, that's not astronomy.
The other astronomy
like,
about the planets
astrology
and stuff.
That's astrology, exactly.
Oh, okay.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
That's like more. Actually, I really doubt there's any scientific facts that these things are based on the astrology. That's like pseudoscience, I think.
Yeah, pseudoscience. Very old too. Very like ancient.
Yeah.
Just people have been believing in that kind of stuff for a while. Oof, it's been hitting, huh?
Because, I'm not used to this shit. That's why.
Self-expression, right?
But I like it.
And
I like to get straight to the point, and that's what this is doing. So.
You
know. The liquor helps get to the point, which is to get drunk, right?
Absolutely.
Gets the brain cells rolling.
Did you hear what China did today? I think was it
What
today
did
or recently? They brought the first satellite ever on the dark side of the moon.
No, they built a satellite station.
Okay, they
somewhere in South America to observe the dark side of the moon.
How the hell would they do that? Because that's not even pointed at us. How can you have a station on Earth observing the dark side of the moon?
I don't know how they calculate the trajectory.
Do you know why there's a side of the moon that we never see, which is the dark side?
Well, I would assume that because there's rotation, you would see the whole side of the moon, but it turns out you can't.
Yeah, exactly. It's freaky, right?
Yeah.
Any ideas
The
why?
dark side of the moon.
The dark side of the moon.
Dark side of the moon.
Yeah.
It has something to do with how fast the moon rotates around us and how fast it rotates around itself. I think.
Well, dark side of the moon, I think it really matters about the Earth casting a shadow on the moon. That's why we say dark side.
No.
No,
it's just this. It's the side. Because we have one second. As it rotates, because the moon takes a month to rotate around itself, and it also takes a month for something to rotate around Earth?
Google it.
Yes, exactly. It takes a month for it to rotate around itself, and it takes a month for it to rotate around the Earth.
Okay.
Because those two are synchronized, the way it's rotating, it always has one side.
We always see the
facing
same
us.
spot.
Exactly. Which is really awesome if you think about it, like, why are they in perfect synchronization?
What are the odds that that would
Exactly.
happen?
Well,
right?
it's not odds. There has to be a reason.
Physics.
Okay.
Like it could be a coincidence, but it's very unlikely.
It's
Physics.
Physics.
It's very unlikely.
Okay, and then the fact that the Chinese government was able to achieve that, I think, is pretty much because.
Well, who said they achieved it? We just know they built a space station.
Well, that's an achievement in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much.
It's a space station or it's a
Well,
because you said it's in South
it's an
America.
observatory.
Exactly. How the
That's it.
fuck can they do that? They need like a mirror or something.
Doesn't matter
Maybe,
how they did it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But the fact they were able to make it,
Hey, Kriko, Google that.
Google it.
You might become a new Jamie from the
Hey!
We have a new
engineer.
part to our team here who is gonna Google the facts when we need them to be Googled.
Why not?
But
Yeah.
I think he's a little busy with his drink right now.
I got you.
Take it down.
It's good. We'll pour him a second drink in the break after. 2019 just started, man. We're 3 days in.
2018. What the
2019,
fuck?
sorry, my
What?
bad. 2018 ended, and 2019 started. We're 3 days in. There's a funny meme you posted where this guy goes, day one, he goes, I fucked up. 2020 will be my year.
That was
Made me
funny,
laugh,
man.
made
That
me
made me
laugh.
fucking laugh. You know, first day. You know.
And isn't it ridiculous?
'Cause
that
that's
people,
Yeah, go ahead.
the fact that like we're waiting for a year, like that's somebody somewhere said, all right, this is what constitutes a year. People wait. Okay, well next year I'll start making a change instead of like they could be in August or July and say, well, now it's too late within the year. I'll just wait till 2019 or 2020, the year after, to start making a change instead of waiting for. Because it's funny, you never hear of an August resolution. You always hear of a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's mostly what that joke is based on. Because I'm sure, like, not most. I hope not most people actually follow that resolution thing. Like, I don't think most people wait till the beginning of the year to do good things.
Look at the gyms, bro. Like January 1st.
January 1st, gyms are full. January 2nd, gyms are empty.
I don't know, but have you
wait for that day?
Did anybody actually go to a gym on January? Like,
I know
test
I
that?
didn't.
Because I don't think that's like a meme, but I don't think that's that's very accurate.
No, it usually lasts about a
I
month.
think what it is because getting fit is the most. I think one of the most, like, quitting smoking, getting fit, making more money is like one of the most stated resolution. Maybe that's why people make.
Yeah.
No, but again,
do you have any resolutions yourself?
I think people say it like maybe if they're close to December and then they want to do something, they do it. But if they're actually waiting throughout the year, like, those are people that got bigger problems to worry about than whatever they're trying to stop.
I gotta
much,
get fit, but I got bills to pay. Try to get fit.
Do push-ups at home, bro. If one of your bills is for rent, you got a home. Means you got a place to do push-ups.
Yeah, and it's for
like
free
the
too.
thing is, there's always a solution that, like, for getting fit, unless it's actually like a disorder or disease or something. There's usually a solution to actually get
Always,
fit.
yeah.
And doesn't take a lot of money.
Yeah, put your sneakers on, go fucking run outside. There you go.
Well, I know
It's
there's a lot of
well,
ice.
not now.
Well, not now, but
But you can always, like,
Go
honestly,
fuck.
as long as you got a place to do crunches or whatever. Like, I remember before we moved to our house right now where I live, we were living in an apartment with my family, and my room was like half of this room almost. So I would always want to practice my kicks, and this was when I was younger. I was really into MMA. It was the dream at that time,
Yeah.
I would literally have to kick over my bed and make sure that when I put my leg back on the ground, I don't hit anything in the surroundings.
That's good training, though.
It's a very tight spot. Definitely, it was good. But what I'm saying is, like, I did what I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Practicing a kick in that position, it wasn't exactly ideal, and a lot of times I had to hit shit by accident. But you work with what you got.
Accident.
Yeah.
Accidents.
Oh yeah, I never wanted to break my own shit.
Yeah. So, but do you have anything you want to work on this year? Any like for me, for example, one of my
plans
is it's gonna sound funny, but it's being more selfish.
Oh,
People go,
definitely,
they think like stop being a people pleaser. You know what I'm saying? Like stop
I feel
thinking
you,
of others and putting what is that that person gonna think of me if I do this or if I do that? Be more selfish sometimes. It's good to be selfish.
Yeah, man.
I think that thinking of putting yourself sometimes ahead of others, as long as you don't harm others, is a good thing. That's what I'm learning for this year. What about you guys? I guess if
Well, I don't even have a resolution because I know I'm not gonna keep to
it. Doesn't have to be a resolution, but there's always
because I know myself. I'm not gonna keep to it. So I did with the Holy Trinity: wealth, love, and health. That's it.
Wealth, health, and love.
Okay, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's definitely essential. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? Everything.
But I'm not giving myself any goals because I know I won't make it. I've done it before.
Well, maybe you just gotta change your the way you try, right?
Yeah.
Because that's usually where the. I like what you said. What did you say? Actually, your resolution.
Being more selfish.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's actually the most efficient way you can help others is to first help yourself. Because that puts you in a position where you have enough, not just money wise, but puts you just in a position where you can help others.
Exactly.
Can't pour from an empty cup. I think that's the expression. Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. Because if your cup's empty, you can't pour for somebody else.
Well, I mean, suppose your apartment's...
But if your cup's full, I could give him half. And then we both have half. That's greed, baby. That's greed. That's the problem.
But it's good. That's the thing that's still... I'm like, oh my God, I need to be a bit more selfish so that I can... Because if you're too worried about what people are going to say about you, what people are going to think about, which is why I did this podcast in the first place, is because, I always wanted to make a podcast, but my dream is to make skits and to write stories and whatever. Yeah. But the thing is that you got to learn to put yourself out there first. And so, where am I going with this? It's just the idea of this guy's going to think I'm doing a stupid podcast.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, the production design's not good enough or whatever. Just fuck it. Just do it, and then you're going to get somewhere. So don't let others stop you. That's mine. That's what I'm trying to do.
What did he say?
You can't let one person dictate what you do.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one thing.
Unless it's yourself, then yeah.
Well, you need yourself to make things happen.
That's
but it's
one person.
If you base yourself on just the thoughts of one person, that's when you get fucked.
Of course not, yeah. It's that's religion. Basing everything you do on the thoughts of, on what we think he thinks, right?
Yeah, so one person's perspective is going to dictate your whole life. Yeah. Fuck that.
Just live my life, live your life, live his life. We'll see what happens.
Another big one that you know about a lot of me is I gotta stop complaining about shit. I gotta stop this is that. Fuck.
I don't know. Sometimes I think you do it usually for more of a sense of humor purpose,
But sometimes a little truth.
Oh, definitely. There's always, but that's the thing. Any sense of humor has to have a little truth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be funny,
That's a good
point. I know there's truth, but the more of the reason why you do it is to joke around, I don't. Unless you're really complaining when you're alone. If you're complaining when you're alone, that's when you know it's some deep shit.
Yeah. I don't like to say where I work just in case, because whatever. But we work in the same spot, so it's sometimes I go, Younes, what the fuck is going on? But sometimes just shut up, just take it.
Same shit, different day.
But sometimes you fucking just take it and just life's not that bad. Some people that are twice our age are still flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Even that's not bad. Honestly, anybody in this fucking country, man,
can make it.
I know some people got it really hard, even in this country, but everybody in this country doesn't really have it that bad because you're in a position to improve. But some people are in a country where they're not even, their government does not want them. Well, even here is the case, but in their case, their government is straight up telling them you can't be any other way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or there's war or famine or
But that's the beauty that you have, is that you have perspective, because you came here you were 14 when you came to Canada, so you grew up in Lebanon and then you came to Canada when you were 15 years old.
14. Yeah.
14.
Well, actually 14 I left Lebanon and I was 14 I went to the US. Okay. And then around 14, 15 I came from the US to here. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a trip to that. So you were able to see compare, because I've been to Lebanon quite a few times, but again it was on vacation. So vacation,
it's nice.
It's nice.
It's a great place for vacation.
No, but I wasn't going to the resorts in Beirut or whatever. I was living with my family in the villages, and I would see how people used to live. And compared to here, we don't get to complain that much. But then I go back to my Canadian roots, and I just I complain all the time because it's first
North America, we've got it good.
We got it really good.
We got it really good.
I know there's pain here too. Let's not disregard that, but still.
Yeah, but compared to everywhere else,
even France alone, it's a first world problem. Look at the problems they're dealing with right now, fucking, So it's
fucked up, man.
Just stop fucking complaining. Stop complaining. You know, that's
Yeah, definitely. I do agree that you gotta. Thing is, like, it's not the complaining that's the problem. It's whether you're actually doing anything to change it. Because if you're not doing anything to change it, shut the fuck up.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I saw this thing online. It says, "Don't be problem focused, be solution oriented." And I'm like, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Because it's like, so don't be problem focused, be solution
It's
oriented.
funny how sometimes when you hear something, the truth, even if it's so fucking obvious,
5 words.
you're like,
Even if it hurts.
Yeah. Like, just like, put your happiness first, you know? Like, no motherfucking shit. You know, you tell that to somebody and they're like, yeah, you're right.
But in the right moment,
But what
it
do you
hits
think?
you.
Yeah,
in the right
exactly.
moment,
Like,
it
what
hits
else?
you.
How else are you supposed to do, you know?
One day, it will come. The truth.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like it.
But people overuse those fucking quotes online. People overuse them too much.
Which quote?
All of them. Quotes. You gotta be happy. You gotta stop thinking about, like, these fucking things. All right, let me just think of one right now.
Share if you want money. Ignore if you want your mom to die.
See,
Have you seen these quotes?
complaining
No,
right there.
have
Have you seen these quotes?
No, but it's like people saying, I don't know. I'm only looking for good vibes. It's like, yeah, no shit. Who's looking for bad vibes on purpose? It's like, I'm just sharing this in their fucking stories. Like, they're like, I just came up with this new wisdom that I have to share with people. It's like, no, shit. All good vibes are only good vibes. It's like,
Depends.
If you share.
Yeah, it's.
I hate these things.
Some of them are very tacky, definitely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Everything's tacky. Unless you create your own.
What do I want to say?
So what's your goal, man? What do you see yourself in?
Deep in thought.
Like, what would you like to
This
be?
fucking job interview or something?
Huh?
Is a job interview?
No,
where do you see yourself
in
in 10 years?
No, because
What's one thing you'd say is a
Yeah.
is a
would
bad
describe you?
No, but the reason why I'm saying this is because I've like every person has their own like I want to be a filmmaker.
Different goals.
Like, but what is it like the one thing that you're aiming for? Like, is it fighter? Is it?
Oh, I definitely don't want to be a professional fighter. No.
You wouldn't live that life?
No, it's that like it's a like I said, it's a beautiful art, but dedicated. You have to really give it everything to even compete with the guys that are competing right now.
Yeah.
And again, it's a beautiful art, but dedicating your entire existence to just being able to get into a cage, like them, their entire career span is maybe like 5 hours. They train their whole life for like 5 hours, depending, of course, some people longer, some people less. But and it's just
kind of like when we watched Creed.
Yeah.
Creed. We've seen that
Creed
movie.
2.
Yeah,
Watched
Creed 2.
But
Creed 2, like you see it.
the
like,
boxing movie.
Yeah.
Look good. I didn't see the first or the second
It's
one.
like the continuation to Rocky.
Yeah, I know.
You see-
I didn't even
you
see that. I
see,
saw
like,
the
the
first
word.
Rocky. That's
First
it.
Rocky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it
I don't
shows
know
in,
why
like,
that
2
movie
hours.
was so big. Honestly, maybe for the time it was huge, but like looking
Oh, yeah.
back at it now, the fight scenes are the most
Cheap.
worst fight scenes I've ever seen.
But then
I can't
again, it's
believe
like, but what impresses me about that movie is, Sylvester Stallone was about to be evicted out of his apartment. He was like, monetarily, he was on the ground,
Yeah, the actor himself.
rock
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
And then he wrote this 20-page script.
Oh, he killed it.
20-page
Definitely.
script.
He hit the
Winning Oscars, made a
jackpot.
name for himself. He made. He's still making money off of that fucking thing right now. The whole Rocky franchise.
Yeah, when it hits, it hits. Sometimes people, like, again, it's definitely. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's really just the fight scenes.
Yeah.
The movie, I'm sure,
like,
is.
the technicalities of it and stuff.
Yeah, the actual fighting, like it looked fake straight up. Like, might as well have them hit each other a little bit. It's not gonna hurt. Make it look real.
Fun fact about this. A fun fact that I read about this movie. Sylvester actually asked the boxer to give him a real punch.
Oh really?
He got knocked out.
Oh yeah! Holy shit! They
As I
should have
heard
put that in the
it,
movie.
as
Did they put that in the movie?
As I heard I'm not sure if it's true. You'd have to fact check, but I heard a story of that. Fact check. Google it.
Was it Crico?
Google it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, but sometimes these movies you gotta be careful. Sometimes they go like, in The Dark Knight, that interrogation scene when the Batman is punching the Joker, he's actually like Heath Ledger says, "Don't punch me, actually punch me." So he actually punched the guy.
Yeah, because he's a method actor.
He's a method actor.
Yeah,
exactly.
Them, they're really like. There's a lot of the best ones are method actors. You got Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
I was just watching an interview with Marlon Brando the other day. Man, that guy is a fucking.
He's a psycho.
He's
But in a
amazing.
good way.
Not even a psycho. He's just I only know the sides that he shows in his interviews and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But He's of course he's one of the best actors to ever lived, and he's just so insightful. Like, you ask him a question, and he doesn't think about the surface of the question. He thinks about why you're asking him this question. What made you think? Like, what brought you?
Questions.
Exactly. Which is even more important because, like, sometimes it shows you how silly things are. Like how silly people think, and how silly even sometimes you get caught up in the silliness yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely check that out. Marlon Brando interview on YouTube.
Is there a specific one that you're like referring to?
Or, like,
is it for a movie that he was promoting? Was it for?
I don't even know. It was about.
I find it crazy that most like the best artists out there are the most the craziest ones.
Yeah.
Huh? Whether it be music or film or whatever.
So like
it's
Heath Ledger's Joker.
But to him, if you
how
read,
he trained for it.
No, he locked himself in his hotel room for a whole month. He went to the pharmacy for 6 weeks.
For 6 weeks.
For 6 weeks, and he went to a pharmacy to get himself just those basic face paint items, because he told to himself the Joker is a crazy poor maniac, and he's not gonna go to some Hollywood studio get himself beautiful makeup. He's gonna like make it himself.
No, what
out of the cheapest
he
ingredients.
would mess up his. Actually,
purpose,
I've seen a video of Heath Ledger today, and he said that he'd get the makeup like old school Joker, and then he'd just mess it up.
And look what it gave. One of the most iconic faces.
Give it a bit of.
It's an amazing movie.
Give it a little bit of pizzazz.
Pizzazz. Absolutely.
Jazz hands.
Huh?
Can I put some more?
Yeah, absolutely. We're almost gonna get in the next break too. So only about maybe a minute and a half left.
Do you need it now?
So you like it?
Need it.
Valentine's. Do you like it?
What?
He needs
Valentine's lemon scotch and whiskey.
First time I've tried it, actually. I've only drank whiskey like twice or once before.
Which brand?
It's probably
Jack.
like the guy that was walking.
Johnny
Walker. Yeah.
But which label do you remember? Or
I don't know. I tried Blue Label once because at my
Label,
sister's wedding, it's like I think it was a $800 bottle or something. They made a big deal about it, so I'm like, okay, can I try it? And then they poured a little bit, and I wasted it, and they're like, why would you not drink it? It's an $800 bottle. I'm like, it's
shit, man.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know some people. Yeah, they looked at me like I.
Looks like Kiko needs another bottle, like another glass
Another
too.
drink.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yum 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 yum.
Hey.
All right, so
He said in French, "Ça tue le méchant." Ça tue le méchant.
Oh, it kills the bad guy.
It kills the bad.
It kills the bad. I don't know about that. Yeah.
I think it brings it out.
Some people, yeah, definitely. I was about to
Some
say some
people,
people brings it out in them. Maybe it's just there already. It just shows the truth. Yeah, I think it's more of a truth thing actually.
That's what I think.
Some people they get very friendly and they
The most authentic truth serum there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. CIA got some shit they can plug up your ass, maybe. And you start telling everything.
Your deepest, darkest secrets.
Morning.
Jeffrey, what have you done?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming.
He's on his way. This guy's he's about to become a sociopath soon enough. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So we are gonna go in the first break, and we're gonna be right back. All right.
I found that other water bottle.
2, 1, and we are back to Sam and Geoff Podcast, episode 3. You want
part 2?
Okay, so we're no one's on mute. That's good. Okay, so
what are we talking about?
Good, huh?
So what are we talking about this time?
Well, one topic we discussed right now was evolution.
Well, yeah.
Evolution.
I just wanted to mention about what you had said that it's that you think of it as a fact, even though some people think of it as a theory.
Mm-hmm.
A scientific theory is technically it is been proven. They call it a theory because there is certain they expect better evidence to come along, and the way the theory keeps building up, just like the theory of evolution, for example.
What's the best evidence so far about evolution? So what's the best evidence is that we came from
fish?
Yeah, from Neanderthals and all that stuff. Like, what's the best evidence of that?
I haven't seen it firsthand myself, but from what I would think it is, just because I don't study very deeply into the subject, but it is one of my interests. It's the genome. What do they call it? Genome building or something like that. Either way, it's the pretty much the code of the DNA of a human being,
Okay.
and they were able to match it up to like 96.7% or something like that, of around between like 96 and 98%, I think, to a DNA of a chimp and that of a bonobo, chimpanzee and bonobos. Like those are our closest relatives, and if there's a match
Our
that,
cousins, right?
huh?
Our cousins.
Yeah, you know, they're called like, for what do we call them, like far cousins or distant cousins,
yeah.
you know, distant
They're like
cousins.
their 16th cousins.
Well, why didn't they evolve? Because
Who, the chimps?
Their 16th cousins. Or the
Really?
32nd
No, they're actually our
cousins.
closest. Well, yeah, but
You
species
know what I mean.
wise, they are like closest cousins. You know, even orangutans, they're our third distant cousin, I think, and
Because
they're gonna go
smart, they're a very
extinct
smart
soon.
species, right?
Yeah, but
Orangutans.
it's more than just like how they look and how they behave and them as a community and whatnot. It's actually in their DNA.
Well, some people say, like naysayers, they say, well, you know what? Why, if we evolved from chimps, why are there still chimps around? Why
We
are
didn't
apes still
evolve
exist?
from chimps. See, that's a big thing
A
about
subspecies
evolution.
of-
A subspecies, yeah.
We're not even a subspecies of them, actually. We have within our ancestors, we have a common ancestor. That's why we're related. Doesn't mean that we actually evolved from them. That's not how it works. Because if we evolved from them, they would be extinct.
Exactly.
We would have been the next step of their evolution.
Mhm.
But they're still around because some of their tribes grew up in different areas where they didn't have the evolutionary process happen on them the same way that it happened onto us. You know, like they didn't become a species that stands up on 2 feet and not on 4, which actually has a big effect of why humans are the way they are. We're actually born prematurely.
Bipeds.
I don't know their
Bipedal.
names.
Bipedal.
Yeah, I'm bad with like
The
names.
terms, because they're too complicated. But yeah, sorry, I was.
So I don't even remember what I was saying. The evolution. Yeah, exactly. When we stood up with the fucking the waist of a woman became a lot thinner when we started walking on 2 feet, and that made us start to come like to be born prematurely, which made us much more moldable than any other species in the world. By moldable, I mean you can really turn a human being into almost anything. His nature, which we say human nature so much, but it's very debatable that we even have any nature besides biology, you know, because like us, you can literally turn a same human, when he's born, you can turn him into a priest or a fucking dictator. You can turn him into an assassin or a nurse, you know what I mean? Just by how you nurture him and he's a moldable. But the chimp, you have him, the moment he's born, he's running on all 4 feet, he's a chimp, you know, you can't teach a chimp to be anything else than a chimp. It's within his nature.
Programmed to be one thing, whereas we could be anything that we want.
Yeah, we really can. Because you can actually, like, if you... Maybe, I don't know honestly about this, but... Because I've never seen it happen.
You can teach chimps how to do things, but you can't teach them, like, complex activities.
Yeah, actually, like me, I find that our main difference between them is really just how powerful our communication is. Because, like, think of 2 chimps. They can maybe tell each other that, hey, there's a lion behind you. They can go like, woo, 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 woo. Yeah. But they can't explain to each other something as complex as like the theory of relativity, which is actually what gives us so much more power, is how precise our communication is. That allows us to talk about very complex things, and complex things usually lead to very powerful things, you know, like technology and things like that. Yeah. So that's our main power, is communication, and yet we use it so little. You know, but even in relationships and shit. I don't get it, man.
Yeah. But relationships, I think the biggest problem with relationships is the fact that not nobody, but like the idea that if there was better communication, again, between the 2 people engaged in the relationship, typically that leads to a better, solid, more stable
today
relationship.
It's not more the fact of talking. It's more of the fact of getting 2 people to talk. It's easy for 2 people to talk. It's just getting them to talk. No, you see where I'm getting at?
Like starting the conversation?
It's harder for people to start the conversation.
Well, just jump into it. That's kind of like whatever is important, jump into it. Even if sometimes it's awkward or whatever it is.
I know, but
once it starts rolling, you know.
Don't be shy to come out.
Because you said that it mostly usually makes it a strong relationship. Yes, but in many cases it would also make you realize that maybe you're just not meant for each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it makes you cut your losses short and move on to something that makes you happier in life. But either way, regardless, it can never be like true. The truth can never be a negative thing. Yeah, the way I find is the truth always heals. Because like even
though
if
it hurts at first,
you learn.
yeah, but it always, even when it's hurting, it's healing. Like if you're telling somebody, I told this to someone the other day, and she's like, "What if somebody, doctor, is telling you got cancer?
Cancer.
How is that? It's the truth. You got cancer, boy. But how is it healing you?" I'm like, okay, well, at least in that case, it heals you in the way that you start living your life accordingly, and you do the things that you like. Now you know how you need to live because you got cancer. You're gonna drop soon. You know what I mean? Contrary to not knowing that truth, you're gonna be living your life. Yeah, maybe if that's what you wanted to do, you know, hit the pipe, you know, do what you gotta do. Yeah,
but I hear what you mean. I understand what you mean. You adjust.
Yeah, or if somebody's telling you that they cheated on you.
Bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if somebody telling you that they're cheated on you, how can that truth be healing? Well, you know to get rid of their ass, you know to stay away from them, and you know what I mean?
Uncle Phil style. Just throw him out the door.
Yeah, but cheaters never tell the truth though, so.
You find out.
Yeah.
You find out.
But don't you think it's good to have a little bit of lie? Like a little bit of illusions in life and a little bit of...
It definitely makes things easier, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's only if you're looking to just make things easier.
It's only temporary.
I think it's about balance.
No, some people can live in a lie their whole life. You could do it. But again, you're looking for what's easy and not what's real. You can live in your own little world for the rest of your life and enjoy it and, you know, but for me it's just, you know, you're not partaking in what's actually there.
In the world and...
What's not even happening in the world, just what actually is there. You're living in a fake world. You're living in fantasy.
Yeah.
So, and again, some people need it. Even me, sometimes I have it because, like, sometimes reality is a bitch. You know,
it is.
Oh, fuck.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're slowly killing our planet.
I'd rather a real bitch than an imaginary princess, though. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Because this is real.
Yeah.
And you value
She's there
genuine
with you,
authenticity as to illusions or...
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Like,
I would just rather,
or don't say it at all.
yeah, it's just like it's pretty simple. I would just rather things that exist, contrary to things that don't.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Like it's not even that, you know. It's kind of like we were saying earlier. Something so obvious, you hear it and it's like, oh, you know, it makes sense. But man, it's like who would rather something that's not existent over something that's existent? You know, I don't get that shit. As bad as
but some people like to be lied to. You know.
Oh yeah.
People, you know the whole
It's
Matrix, the blue pill, the red pill type
uh,
situation, where some people like, no, let me live in the illusion, man. I'm happier this way.
Chemical imbalance, you know. It
Because
doesn't make sense.
Oh, because you think it's like not a disease, but it's like a sickness.
Yeah, it's like just in a way.
You have to learn to live with it.
It's not
With the truth.
It's not logical, you know.
But I agree with it. I think it's good for people to understand that sometimes there is such a thing as a bad thing. It's a bad thing to wanting to live. Because right now we live in a world where everything is excusable. Everything is excusable. Whatever you do, you know, it's okay. There's a reason behind it. There's a, you know, like we live in that world nowadays where
I
there's
think it's more of the fact that they sugarcoat it a lot today.
Politically correct.
That's what I'm getting to. Yeah, politically correct.
Sugarcoating a lot.
It's a very big debate on that going on because we kind of moved into that and now we're moving out of it. But transitions are hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Transitions are, the thing is, we're always in a fucking transition, you know.
But some
That's
people
why I
aren't
think
ready
it's
for
always
transition.
fucked.
That's the thing. Some people just aren't ready
We're
for
all
it.
fucked.
Yeah.
What do you think about that political correctness? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it maybe we just take it too far?
Oh yeah.
And now we just like, you know, there's such a thing as like not insulting. Like if somebody's like has Down syndrome, don't insult them or bully him. That's political correctness, which is a good thing. But then there's such a thing as like, you know, there's 65 million fucking genders right now. There's nobody, you know. Why
name them all.
Take it too far, yeah.
Name them all.
So what do you think?
Yeah,
I'm just curious to know, because what's your take on political correctness and how far it's gotten, or maybe it's not far enough. Maybe it's just good as it is.
When it comes to that, I'd be quoting Jordan Peterson and everything I'd have to say regarding that subject, really.
He's a big
Even
guy,
though I don't
yeah.
like fully agree with everything he says, of course, about every subject, but when it comes to that, he's absolutely right. And what he says is like, technically, because it's like a.
Sorry.
Again, I'm not good with terms, but I know that this should be the right term to use here. It's the postmodernist movement that they have of like the fact that you technically can interpret who you are in any way you want. You know, like you can think of yourself as a fucking anything, as a frog if you want to, and like people are supposed to like see you as a frog now.
But
You
you're
don't
not a
have
frog.
that right.
That-
You know.
That's
But
one of the things.
the two things wrong. First of all, you're not a frog. Like you, Younes. If you say, I identify-
Biologically, yeah. But what I'm saying is like you, because they say that everything is interpretive, and because like we build society a certain way, that's why we see men as a certain way and women as a certain way. That means that technically we can actually be. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that you can be anything really. But sometimes people take a scientific fact and they stretch it. That's the same thing that the Nazis did. The Nazis, they thought that they can take a scientific fact like, controlling human evolution in order to create like a supreme being, and they made it the only factor into that, when there's a lot of other things that make a supreme being. It's not just his physical abilities. It's also like, look at Stephen Hawking, for example. In the Nazi regime, he would be considered an unwanted. He would be considered as a rotten apple.
Yet
But he's the biggest one. Yeah, exactly. He's one of the biggest, smartest people that was living in our generation. You know.
He contributed a lot to scientific knowledge and advancement, and he provided a lot of.
His work was string theory, actually, which he didn't prove.
What is string-
Wasn't he the Big Bang?
No.
It wasn't the Big
Actually,
Bang.
no. I don't think Big
I think
Bang
he
was.
taught about
it, but
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay,
But his main work was string theory, the theory of
because
everything. Yeah, I love that one.
I haven't watched it, but
I haven't even actually seen the show, but it's just that the theory itself is called the theory of everything,
There's a movie about
because
that,
it
about
explains
him.
how
Yeah.
everything connects pretty much. But he never proved it.
Is that related to the string? Because I've always wanted to ask you about the string theory, because we talked about it at work with somebody else too, and I pretended to but I don't understand what that is. What is string theory? What is that?
Yeah, I shouldn't. If you actually want to learn about string theory, you probably shouldn't have me
But if you were to
explain
give,
it.
if you were to give like a small,
It's like
everything is
they're looking
connected.
in
maybe?
physics. The biggest problem in physics right now, theoretical physics, is finding the relation between relativity,
Okay.
the theory of relativity, which is Einstein's theory, and quantum mechanics.
Mhm.
They're trying to relate these two fields together because one explains quantum mechanics can explain every single force, which
Okay.
there's four natural forces four forces in nature, and quantum mechanics can explain all of them except for gravity, which is explained through relativity.
What are the other three forces? You have gravity.
You have the weak force, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, electromagnetism, and you have gravity.
Okay. What's
Electromagnetism.
weak and strong nuclear?
These two are related to the nucleus of an atom. One, again, you should do your own research because this
Google
is
it.
like, yeah, you definitely, it's very easy to Google.
Or we're not qualified.
Very easy to Google if you just write. Kriko is probably tipsy by now. I don't know if we should. I don't know if we should take him as a reference, but yeah.
What is 2 plus 2?
But so like, if I were to say everything is connected, will that sort of summarize what
String
theory is, or
No, well, that's people
or is that
always
quantum
look, and that's the thing.
entanglement, or
Again, I would be quoting somebody else now. It's Richard Feynman. He was the best person I've ever seen at explaining very complex things. And one thing I love about him is he didn't try to simplify them, because sometimes things are just not simple. Sometimes when you want to take a complex theory and just make it into one sentence, you're diluting that theory so much that it's just useless by that time. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you can't. Yeah, it's very complex things. Like even me, I'd say I understand maybe 0.01% about this subject. Really.
Okay.
That's me being cocky, maybe, honestly. 'Cause
Even saying 1.01% is being cocky.
yeah, maybe.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine 1%.
Imagine
1%. I think maybe that's like Stephen Hawking level or Einstein level. There are 1%.
Yeah. But that really goes to show you how much.
Wow, did I say 0.01?
Yeah.
So I just said I'm like Stephen Hawking or Einstein divided by 10. Yeah, forget that. 0.00001
That much.
would be more
So
representative.
you're lowering even more now.
Well, yeah, because I just said I'm like Hawking is me by a factor of 10.
So what does that say about people who walk around the streets going, I know everything? Some people, they walk around like they know everything. They have an answer for everything.
Yeah, I had this put on my desk at work for like 4 years until somebody made me take it off. What was it? It was
You had a bunch
Socrates.
of quotes. You did. Yeah.
No, sorry, it was Shakespeare. He
had
said
a bunch of like quotes.
Yeah, on my
like
desk.
papers and quotes over his desk.
Be the
And some
best
people-
you can be.
No, like actual quotes, like
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
quotes. Yeah, no. They were very interesting because But anyways, what was the
The
quote?
one by Shakespeare was, a fool thinks himself to be a wise man, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool.
Yeah, he knows.
Exactly.
There's
Now he
always, more,
thinks he
there's always
knows.
more to learn.
Exactly. And even if you learn it, like, there's just, you still don't see the big picture, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of like what the main idea about God even is. God is usually seen as the big picture. Everybody thinks they see the big picture. Well, we should accept the fact that we don't, you know?
I find that
As much as we
reassuring. Actually,
believe.
some people panic. They go, "Oh my God, if I don't have all the answers, then what the hell has this all been about?" I find that reassuring.
You don't know, buddy. You just
Yeah.
don't know.
But that's good.
Make
isn't
the
it?
best of
Takes
it.
a lot of pressure off your
I
shoulders.
think it's more the people. I think it's more the fact that people are afraid of unknown, the unknown fact. So they just find the easiest thing to follow.
Oh, definitely.
To know something.
Religion was our first attempt at understanding the world, so it's definitely not our best. But it's like a writer. I always use this
It's not
example.
our
It's like
proudest moment, but
yeah, like we needed it because it's like a writer writing a first draft and saying that it's the greatest piece of literature ever written.
That's what.
You know, you can't. You know, it's just like now we have better ways to explain the world.
Yeah. Back then it worked, but today you have more knowledge.
Yeah.
You know better.
people
You know,
are more
but
educated.
I think more the reason why we really like everybody wants to
'Cause
believe
we ask
in
more
God.
questions today.
Yeah, it's the
Because
age
back
of
then-
information.
We have a more educated society than we did, like, say, 500 years ago.
Yeah.
But we also have
600
more
years
knowledge, right? We
Yeah.
know more about
So the age of
stuff.
information, and anybody can Google something they're interested in. And not just that. In this cases, you're not like almost defiant to the law now if you ask a question. Back then, that's like the source of the Illuminati. Actually, is like people that are enlightened and they're asking questions that they're not supposed to, and they
You
get
think
into
Galileo-
trouble. You know exactly.
Yeah.
Galileo actually he got fucking burned by the church. Because he was saying that the Earth was
Rotating around.
no, he was just saying
That
that
was
the Earth
Copernicus.
was a sphere.
Oh, that was.
He was just saying
yeah.
the Earth was a sphere, which is a fucking fact now, you know.
Yeah.
And they burned his ass, and those are the people that are supposed to know the word of God. You know what I mean?
It's like, how can you miss that if you're all knowledgeable and all knowing? And
But I think the reason why we all want to believe in God, it's me and I say most people around me in this case is because we all want to think that we're gonna see our loved ones after we die. Because if we know that there's a God, it's most likely that there's an afterlife,
God.
and if there's an afterlife, we're gonna see our loved ones.
Yeah.
And that idea is just so warming to our hearts that we cannot let it go. It's not just the fact like then your love for God grows because of that like after that initial thought.
that's good marketing right there. That's
Yeah,
like,
it's because like man, but for me I see the fact that I might never see my family again as more of a motivation to be good to them now and to spend time with them now and to
doesn't
love
it
them
give them
now.
more value? You know when they say the
Yeah,
thing like
because
all
you might
good
never
things
see
must
them,
come
yeah.
to an end. Well, yeah, all good
Yeah.
things must come to an end. That's
Eventually.
how it works. Yeah.
If I was going to see my family in life for eternity, I mean, that would be great, honestly, but I don't know. It just.
Some people you don't want to see.
It's not even that, you know, I would love to see them again. It's just the fact that. Like, I don't need that life for me to be comfortable or happy or just at peace with myself. I don't need to. I shouldn't even call it a lie, but I don't need that assumption in order for me to be comfortable in today's life. And the fact that I don't have that truth, whether I will see them again or not, it just makes you it makes you love them more. It makes you appreciate them more. It actually goes back to so one of the things that Socrates was talking about. It was again, you should probably research this. I know this, but I don't want to go into detail because it takes a while to explain. It's what was it? Yeah, it's just something to do with who suffers more. Somebody who causes somebody to be tortured in this life, or well, I'll just explain the actual scenario. It was like a thought bubble that he had, really, and he said that let's say there's a dictatorship and there's two people in this dictatorship, and one of them does something really bad to the dictatorship, and he knows that they discover what he's done, and so he blames it on somebody else, and this other person gets tortured and killed for what the other person has done, the initial person, and the initial person gets away with it and gets to live his life for free. Who suffers more in this scenario?
The guilty or the one being executed?
Exactly. Who suffers more? Now, again, for me to explain, it may take a while. So if you actually cared, you could look it up.
I would say, well, if I were to give my answer, I would say the guilty person, because he has to live with that pain. Whereas
Unless
the
you're
person who got
sociopath.
executed...
Unless you're sociopath.
Yeah, there's always those anomalies. Me, I see sociopaths. I see them as anomalies, really, in within like how. Again, I'd use human nature as a say here, even though I don't think there's such thing.
Like imagine, what's his face? Sherlock Holmes.
What's his name?
Sherlock Holmes, he just like saw some shit and then he just doesn't care about it anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he saw so much stuff.
He
that
saw
He's a
so much stuff
sociopath.
Well,
Or is that
in the
what you're
sense
trying to
that
say?
to him, he doesn't
Somewhat.
care about like.
Not like non-empathetic. Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
But his story is about he solves crimes, but he doesn't do it because he wants to help the person find the murderer. He does it because it's a game for him, and it's a self.
Yeah.
self gratification.
Yeah, that brings to like
self-gratification.
another question. If you're doing something good, doesn't matter why you're
Well-
doing it. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm not saying it doesn't. It's a question. You know what I mean?
We had this talk actually at work when I said, I think every act, no matter how good, has at least a bit of selfishness behind it. Because if I give money to the poor, in a way, it's because okay, I'm helping these guys, fantastic. But at the same time,
Feel pity.
it's because I want to feel good about myself. The
Yeah.
fact that I did something good, or
I don't know. I disagreed with that.
really
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
And if there were to be a part three, we go all over it. But I think no. But I still sort of agree with the fact that there is some because selfishness has such a bad name to it. That the moment you hear selfish, you think bad.
Comes
Black,
from the one who
dark,
wants to be more
it's not
selfish
good.
this year.
Yeah, I don't.
But but in the sense, but
Most
it's good
people
to
do,
be a
yeah,
bit,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good to sometimes understand that when I do something good, it's because we're just talking about guilt right now. And the fact that if I walk by this poor person and then I help him, I feel guilty. It's like a nagging thought in my head. But if I would have gave him money, like here's $5, go get yourself something nice, then in that case I feel a bit better. But at the same time, I did something good, which isn't bad. But there is, I think, selfishness.
Why did
behind
you
it.
do it?
Yeah, why did you do it in
did
the
you do
first
it?
place?
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you mean.
And so, but I can understand also your idea of well, some people are really like they just like Mother Teresa, for example, like all the help that she's done. Did she have to do it? No, did she have
All the help.
Yeah, like all the help.
That's a very interesting subject, actually. You know Christopher Hitchens?
Yeah,
He's one of my favorite. Well,
May he
actually, you
rest in
should
peace.
see.
Yeah, 'cause
You
he
should
was-
see. Yeah, he's one of
Who's
the
that
people
guy?
that I really like.
He's a philosopher, I would say.
He's more of a journalist, but
Okay.
his main subject is debating religion, which is like very sad, I find, because he doesn't believe in any of it or in God, and he spent most of his life telling people why they shouldn't either. Which he's not like shoving it.
About him. Look it up.
He's not like shoving it down their throat like they do in religion,
Like,
but
oh,
he's
you can do that if you
debating
want,
them. Yeah, he's debating those who tell him that oh, but what about all the good that the church has done, or Islam, or whatever it is, whatever the religion is. But him, honestly, you should see what he did on Mother Teresa. She's not a saint, as much of a saint as people think she is.
See, that's
Like much of that good that she was doing. In this case, you would be right, I think, because most of her motivation was almost like marketing for the Catholic Church and the gain of power. Power is much more like.
But see, that badness brought a lot of good things. How many poor people got helped because of her? Maybe it's her selfishness. And it's the Catholic Church's way of being greedy and like, look at us, we're still, because they're getting irrelevant in the 20th century. But look at us, we're still doing some good stuff. But now she's doing good stuff on her name, but still people benefited from that. How many poor people
but
got
a lot of
help
people
and
got
clothes?
abused too. A lot of people got abused too. She didn't
Yeah.
only do good things. That's the thing.
She did a lot of bad
Yeah,
stuff.
she did some bad things too. Like
Mother Teresa, Christopher Hitchens, watch it right now.
Yeah, check that shit out, man.
Yeah.
Check that shit out. He actually, a lot of people went against him on that, and that's like one of the things that made him so hated as a figure. But there's a lot of
Because of Mother
truth in what he
Teresa.
said.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, I'm not saying I agree with everything Hitchens says, but anything that he says against religion, maybe not against somebody
The beauty
personally.
Of debate.
Anybody,
The
anything.
beauty of debate. You don't always have to agree.
But see, that's the thing
Yeah.
about his debates is that he wasn't all the time, because he would debate, but the people against him would like yell and scream and like some clips.
He
that I
would
saw
scream
about
too, yeah.
him. No, he was. Yeah,
He's
he
pretty
wasn't perfect
feisty.
himself, but
It's pretty feisty,
But
but
the
he screams
idea-
facts. That's the thing. He screams facts based on logic
others
and
do,
knowledge. Yeah, not a book that was sent by God 2,000 years ago
Yeah.
to somebody in a
been
cave.
rewritten multiple times. That's what I
No,
mean.
me,
like,
even the fact that, like, me, it's not about that. You see, people, a lot of people say that. It's most likely been rewritten and reinterpreted. Are you trying to say that initially it was the word of God and they rewrote it?
it was something in the beginning, but over thousands of
The
years.
word of God?
I'm not sure the word
That's
of
the-
God.
that's
but that's the
it.
thing. It's
That's
not the word
it.
of God. It's the
That's
word
it.
of interpretation of people who followed him.
But regardless, that
Yeah.
what I'm saying is even the source. Does that mean that, because the moment you say it's an interpretation,
Because it's not really the man himself who wrote it. It was the people who followed him that wrote it.
but they wrote his word according to the
according
scripture?
to what they thought they
Yeah,
meant.
they said they wrote word for word what he had said. Like in Islam, for example, they say that the main reason, well, a big reason why people believe in that Muhammad was his prophet is because Muhammad was illiterate and he wrote one of the greatest piece of literature of all time. So how can somebody illiterate write that? And for them, that's enough proof. For most people, it's enough proof that it's the word of God. God had to tell him what to write.
We were very naive back then, yeah.
Oh, back then, as if now we're like.
Now we're like, okay, full.
Now we're
But
more
now,
of
you
a
know what's
sheeple.
funny?
They
But-
have a phone in your face now. It's telling you like.
But funny enough, that phone, how much knowledge can it bring you?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But people
true.
still decide to. That's what
Like,
kills
the
me
thing,
is
the
when
thing
people.
itself is not intelligent. Is the one who uses
Okay, we
it.
don't have a lot of time left, but just wanted to say it's funny how you have this phone can bring you so much knowledge about anything.
That's
But
true.
no.
Even against the phone itself and against the companies, the
It's funny,
corporations,
yeah.
but people still.
But no, we like duck faces.
Yeah, people would still rather go on Instagram
Yeah.
and share these good vibes quotes instead of, or they're sharing their
Mm.
fucking meal instead of, or sharing this podcast instead of,
Yeah.
researching that knowledge. I remember when I bought a computer from this guy, I was like 14, 15, and he goes, before playing your games, just go online and just learn how these games were made and just learn the technology and the intelligence and genius behind it. And I kind of laughed at the guy before, like, the fuck out of here. I just want to play my games. But then later on, he was right. I learned more about the industry and about the genius minds behind making these games and these movies and
Bill
everything.
Gates.
There's so much knowledge online. There's just so much knowledge online, and people just
Anything
decide
you
to
want,
ignore
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Is it still recording over there? Or
Yeah.
okay, good.
It's
Still the red dot.
29 though, yeah.
29,
30.
okay. So we're gonna start. So just to verify, do you want to plug anything? Like, is there a place for people to follow you? Do you want to be followed, or do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Or you can follow me on Instagram.
Instagram.
Point it where you want
Volare88.
it.
Volare.
VOLARE 88.
Perfect. We'll put a caption in there as well. Kriko, is there any way to follow
Google
you?
guy.
Shout out my man Volare88. Follow that man.
Okay, fantastic. Please don't forget to follow Sam Bam Productions. That's Sam Bam _Productions at Instagram. And
You know who I am. You know who I am.
Yeah. All right, so thank you very much for watching this episode, and we'll see you next week or the next 2 weeks. Bye.
2 weeks.
Bye.
Goodbye, my friends.
Just,
All right,
really good.
cut.